what's going on, everybody? It's RoarYG here, coming at you with a brand new video. For today's video, I want to show you guys my Bird Up deck profile for February 2022. And as you may have seen last month, the January 2022 ban list was not very kind to this deck. And while I do think what they did was a bit overkill, I mean, it did deserve some sort of hit. And a lot of people, including myself at first, seem to think or have thought that the deck was kind of just massacred, like it was almost borderline unplayable. However, due to the minds of myself, yours truly, and some other people online, we have managed to come up with some salvageable ways to play the deck. And while it's not the powerhouse that it once was, dominating top tables last format, it's definitely going to be a lot better than a lot of people have thought. So without further ado, enough rambling, let's go ahead and get right into my Bird Up deck profile for February 2022. To start off with the main deck monsters, we're going to go with the Lyriluscs. So we play 3 copies of Turquoise Warbler. Let me go ahead and try to get these best in frame as I possibly can. Also, I totally forgot to mention, I hope you all enjoy the brand new playmat. This is the RoarYG custom playmat. No, it's not something that's going to be up for sale anytime, like, ever. It's just something really neat I decided to get for the channel for videos like this because I thought it'd be really nice. But anyways, continue the deck profile. We have 3 copies of Turquoise Warbler, 3 copies of Cobalt Sparrow, 2 copies of Sapphire Swallow, 2 copies of Celestine Wagtail, and 2 copies of Barrel Canary. So the ratios are actually almost exactly the same. We're playing 3 copies of Turquoise, 3 copies of Cobalt, 2 copies of Sapphire, which I live and die by compared to a lot of other Bird Up players, 2 copies of Celestine Wagtail, and the most interesting thing is we bumped Barrel Canary from 3 down to 2. Honestly, it was just so we can make room for other things in the deck, and there's no real significant reason to bump it down to 2. Also, the fact that in our combos, we actually no longer use it. It's more of a follow-up card than it is a combo card, unless we have a small, like, fail combo. And so overall, it's not really as needed or as good to draw as it once was. So if you didn't know, this new version of Bird Up actually uses the birds more as like extenders and extra bodies on board than it does as the actual main powerhouse archetype like it did in the last build. And so it combos really well with the Tri-Brigade cards, which you're going to be seeing a lot more of in the combos compared to last time, trust me. Next up, we have the Tri-Brigades, of course. We have 3 copies of Tri-Brigade Fractal, 3 copies of Tri-Brigade Nerval, 2 copies of Tri-Brigade Karis, and 1 copy of Tri-Brigade Kit. So as you can see, the ratio is once again slightly changed, but overall remains quite similar. We bumped Karis from 1 up to 2 because he's a really nice extender, especially in this build, you'll see here in a minute. And I'm actually considering playing a second copy of Kit, which basically depends on whether or not you run the flex backer removal in the main deck like I do. Otherwise, you can totally just remove that and play a second copy of Kit. I have some on the way, hopefully, if my mail gets forwarded, but otherwise, 1 Kit's perfectly fine. You're mostly going to be dumping it. However, for my personal combo that I came up with, you actually end up using it, but overall, it doesn't really matter much anyway. And for one of the main differences in the deck, and for why Karis is actually such a good card to open, we have 1 copy of the Fabled Cerberell. And if you guys don't know what the Fabled Cerberell does, I'm assuming a lot of you won't, it basically says if it's discarded to the graveyard, you special summon it. And the interesting part about Fabled Cerberell is that it's a tuner, meaning that if you pitch it with Karis, special Karis, it's going to special itself, and then you get a free access to a level 4 Synchro. I'm assuming you can probably already guess what level 4 Synchro is, but I'm actually going to hold off on actually saying it until the extra deck. But overall, you only play 1 because it's searchable off of Shurig. If you draw it, it's not the worst thing in the world because you can still discard it off of Karis, but I'd rather keep it in the deck, not gonna lie. And that's it for our BBWs. Onto the hand traps, we just play 3 copies of Ash Blossom and 1 copy of DD Crow. Exactly the same as last time in terms of the monster-flavored hand traps. The 1 DD Crow is still really nice as a free search. In case it's really good against the deck you're playing against, it's actually pretty good against things like Phantom Knight because you do want to get rid of the things engraved like maybe Torn Scales or any of their, you know, sort of trap cards that they can't really chain at the moment or they don't want to chain at the moment. And then also Ash Blossom is Ash Blossom. That's it for the monsters. On to the spells and traps. We have 3 copies of Lyrilusc Bird Call. We're going to start with the consistency cards, by the way. I should have said that. We play 3 copies of Bird Call. Obviously, it's Bird Call, it's your Rhoda. But the interesting thing is, even though we play 3, we actually don't need it for the combo. Celestine doesn't actually come up for either of the combos unless she's just an extender that you have instead of something else. And so the Bird Call is just kind of free. For the rest of our consistency cards, we play 1 copy of Fire Formation Tenki because it's still at 1, 1 copy of 1 for 1 because in this deck in particular it's absolutely busted, and 1 copy of Foolish Burial, both for extension and for, you know, sort of fail-safe plays in case you get hand-trapped. I also play 2 copies of Forbidden Chalice. It is a really nice card, especially right now, considering there's going to be a lot of stuff chaining on your turn. And the cool thing is, unlike Imperm, you don't have to have any sort of restriction from activating it from hand. And so while you can't use it on your opponent's turn 0, like with Imperm, you can actually just use it during mid-combo, and your opponent will never expect it, meaning they might get greedy with some of their activations. Next up, I have a single copy of Twin Twisters. This is a personal choice of mine. You don't have to go with this. Like I said, you can play the other kit. You can play a 3rd copy of Barrel if you really, really want it. Or, you know, just any sort of thing like that. 3rd copy of Chalice. I don't know. I'm mainly just playing it because a lot of people at my locals are actually going to end up playing back row, I should say. And especially because Skill Drain is at 3, and also we still have Tick Boo running around, Mystic Mine, all sorts of stuff like that. So I've gone back to maining a single copy of Twin like I do in most of my decks, but again, it is a tech choice just based on wherever you're playing. We also have 1 copy of Called By to wrap up our spells because we are playing a combo deck. Konami, please bring it back to 2 or 3. Onto the trap cards, we only play a few. We have 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence because it is Infinite Impermanence. And then a single copy of Tri-Brigade Revolt. Yes, we actually do play Revolt. I know a couple Bird Up players were trying to mess around with it last format, but it wasn't really too optimal, especially, including myself. But Revolt is actually part of both combos now, and it's really, really good. Not just because of, Summon Shurg on the opponent's turn, but also because of the sheer amount of follow-up it gives you in these specific combos. And that's going to do it for the main deck. A few changes, which may not seem like too much, however, it greatly impacts the deck's performance and the combo lines. Anyways, on to the extra deck. Starting off with our Xyz monsters, we have 1 copy of Lyrilusc Recital Starling. Rest in Pepperoni, you will be missed at 2 to 3 copies. She's still honestly fine, obviously. She is a soft once per turn searcher. But yeah, having the 1 sucks. You're not going to be going into like ham Draco future boards or anything. You're not going to be extending beyond belief. You're just going to be getting a single search off of her, and that's about it. So it's unfortunate, but, I guess Konami decided she was just too nice, even though they just released the Lyrilusc stuff. We still play the 1 Ensemble Robin, even though she's only available in one of the combos, or if you do a, improvised combo, I should say. Still a great card. 1 copy of Lyrilusc Assembled Nightingale, because Zeus is a card. Speaking of Zeus, we have 1 copy of Downer Magician, and then the 1 copy of Zeus himself. A much smaller Xyz package this time. It's not like half the extra deck anymore. We just play like a small little package, 1 for consistency, 1 for the end board, and then we have basically a Zeus package. Because honestly, going second and making Zeus is absolutely cracked, especially in formats like we're about to go into, and so I really liked keeping the Zeus package. It's like the main thing that stopped me from trying to pick up pure Tri-Brigade instead, because I was like, you know what, I'm making Bird Up work, I love Zeus too much. Onto the Link monsters, let's start off with our Almirage, because it's our Link 1. Almirage is Almirage. I think it's a bit self-explanatory because, you're playing Tri-Brigade. We have our 1 copy of Ancient Warriors Oath Double Dragon Lords, or DDL for short. Amazing card. He's on every single end board now, preferably. You love to see him, honestly. He's such good protection, disruption, everything like that. We have 1 copy of Farragut, which I actually almost bumped up to 2 until I got the combo that I didn't make up, the one that involves Fabled Cerberel. I almost had her at 2, which was honestly pretty decent, but I like the end board of the other combo too much, and there's really no other flex spots because I want to play the Downard really bad, and so I'm just sticking with the 1 Farragut for now. 1 copy of Bearbrum. We do actually go into the Bearbrum for the combo now because we like getting Revolt. 1 copy of Rugal because we are playing Access Code. You could play the Eagle, but I feel like Rugal's a lot easier to hard make, and there's a lot of situations, much like where a second Farragut would come up, hard making Rugal actually does come up for some situations, and so I do like playing that. I was testing out the Eagle, and while its effect is pretty neat, you have DD Crow and stuff for that, honestly. Link 4s, we have 2 copies of Shurg. I love Shurg. He's like one of my favorite boss monsters of all time. We play 1 for the combo and 1 for the Revolt, or for follow-up on a later turn. 1 copy of Appaloosa, because now you actually go into her instead of her being a last resort. 1 copy of Access Code Talker, which, we're playing Access Code because we're playing a more Tri-heavy variant. And then, forgive me, it didn't come in yet. I just ordered it, actually, because I was having TCG player issues, but this is 1 copy of Herald of the Arclight. Let me go ahead and move these links out of the way. But this is basically supposed to be a Herald of the Arclight. This card is really, really good. So it's basically your Apex Avian, except it has a Floodgate effect, and it's Not as easy to make, but you don't actually brick on anything. I mean, technically you can brick on the Cerberell, but you can at least do something with that more than you can the Apex Avian, unless you tribute summon it like I've done like 4 times. But Arclight is really nice, not just for being able to be an Omni-Negate, but also the Floodgate effect shuts down a lot of decks, like Drytron who? I think it's a pretty neat card that I want to experiment with a lot more, and again, it is part of one of the combos, which I will show you, don't worry, and you'll see just why it can be really, really nice, because having the Omni-Negate is absolutely crucial, especially when you're blind going first and you don't know what your opponent's playing, and you don't want to end up screwing yourself over by going to something that doesn't matter like Ensemble instead. But speaking of combos, that's going to do it for the actual deck profile itself. Let's go ahead and get on into some combos. So interestingly enough, both of our combos actually start the classic way. We start off with Turquoise and Cobalt. We don't need Fractal. This Cobalt could be a Fractal. You could have a Fractal on top of both of these, which is your best combo. But the only really difference is, you know, during my combo, you get extra materials on Ensemble. If you open Fractal Warbler, you get 3 materials. If you open all 3, you actually get 4 materials, like it used to be. But first, I'm going to show you the combo that involves Arclight. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by special summoning our Turquoise, of course, and we're going to use Turquoise's effect specialing our Cobalt Sparrow, and then Cobalt Sparrow will trigger. I like to add the Nerval first as a little bit of a precaution in case we get, like, you know, Nibiru or something, or in case we get, like, I guess Ashed or whatever on the Recital, because, you know, you can actually do more things by normal summoning a Nerval than you can with, like, a Sapphire. But you're going to go into your 1 copy of Recital Starling here. You're going to activate your Recital Starling, detaching. It doesn't really matter. They're all going to get banished anyway. But I like to detach the Turquoise first just in case, obviously. And we're going to grab our Sapphire. And admittedly, this is basically a 2-card combo, but you do need another random, like, empty card in hand, by the way. I won't, like, grab one or whatever for this combo. Just know it's, like, basically a 2 1/3 card combo, because it doesn't matter what card it is. Literally just any card. But now you control a Winged Beast, so of course you can activate your Sapphire, Swallow specialing both it and Nerval. It doesn't matter where you summon anything for this version of the combo, except you can't put the Nerval in the center zone. You have to put the Nerval here, unless you put the Fairjet over here, which is you're a monster. For my combo, it matters where you put the Sapphire. For this combo, I guess it kind of matters where you put the Nerval. But you're going to summon both, and it looks pretty familiar, honestly, having the Recital, the Nerval, the Sapphire. But of course, instead of going into the second Recital, we can't do that. We're going to use the Sapphire and the Recital to go into our copy of Fairjet. And now we're actually going to use Nerval to banish everything in our grave, all 4. Of course, you'd have more than 4 in grave if you had Fractal Warbler or all 3. But regardless, you're going to go into a copy of Shurig, of course. And now you're going to go ahead and link your Nerval and your Shurig. Obviously, you're not going to use Shurig effect, by the way. And you're going to go into Bearbrum. And now you're going to go Chainlink 1 Shurig, Chainlink 2 Nerval, or vice versa. It doesn't really matter in this situation. But you're going to go ahead and use your Nerval to grab a copy of Karis, and you're going to use Shurig to grab your Fabled Cerberell. And now you're going to activate your Karis, pitching the Cerberell to special itself. And remember that Cerberell says if it's discarded, you special summon it, and it's a mandatory effect, by the way. So you're going to go ahead and activate that, and you're going to special it. It doesn't really matter where, as long as it's not next to Bearbrum. And now you're going to activate Karis. You're going to go ahead and banish your Shurig and your Nerval to summon your Ancient Warriors Oath Double Dragon Lords, or DDL. And now you can go ahead and use your Cerberell and your Karis to make your Herald of the Arclight. Remember, this is Herald of the Arclight. And so that's going to go over here. And then finally, you're going to go ahead and use Fairjet and Bearbrum to make a 2-negate Appaloosa above the Goddess. Remember, you need a card in hand just chilling. It doesn't matter what card it is, but you're going to go ahead and activate Bearbrum, adding your Revolt, and then putting any random card from your hand back on the bottom. And this is your end board with that combo, without normal summoning or activating Fairjet's effect, by the way, so you could actually have more extenders. But your end board is Appaloosa, Double Dragon Lords, Herald of the Arclight, and Tri-Brigade Revolt. And while this doesn't really seem like too much, what you have to think is that it's less interruption. This actually is 5 interruptions, by the way. But it's less interruption and more so follow-up, right? Because you have 2 negates in the Appaloosa, you're going to go ahead and use DDL. Let's just assume, it doesn't matter which one we use first, as long as we have room for 4, preferably, so we can get the most advantage out of it. But let's go ahead and say we use Arclight, right? Because Arclight tributes itself. Now we can go ahead and activate Revolt. We're going to use the Nerval, the Shurig, because apparently it doesn't summon them in defense. I thought you couldn't summon links with it. I'm going to go ahead and summon the Sapphire and the Cobalt to get as many of our banished resources back, especially our birds, as possible. Sorry if I keep hitting my mic, by the way. We're going to use all of these. We're going to make our second Shurg, of course banishing something on field, and we can go Chainlink 1 Shurg, Chainlink 2 Nerval. We're going to go ahead and use the Nerval to add a Fractal, and we're going to use the Shurg to add a Barrel Canary. See, this is why I said it doesn't really matter if you play 3 or not, considering it's less going to be a starter card, or not starter, but a first turn extender, and more so going to be a follow-up card. Because now, not only was that 5 interruptions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we actually have perfect follow-up for the next turn. Fractal basically means it's a 1-card access code, and Barrel Canary is a 1-card Zeus, slash, you know, just 4k, or not 4k because we don't have Celeste Engrave, but basically 2400 damage. That's going to do it for the Arc-Light combo. Similar combo is one that I actually came up with myself. I don't know if anyone else has done it, but it was just something I was thinking about and ended up blabbing, and it ends up working against a lot of the matchups right now. And so let's go ahead and get right into that. So the combo I came up with starts off exactly the same. We're going to go ahead and special summon Turquoise, special summoning our Cobalt, adding our Nerval, going into our Recital Starling. Let me go ahead and grab it. Let's just put this Turquoise in Grave real quick, and then we have this under here. Doesn't matter what position you put it in, really. And then, of course, our Recital grabbing our Sapphire. And here's where it gets a bit different. So for my combo, you have to summon your Sapphire either here or here. It has to be in one of the 2 rightmost zones. So I'm going to put it under where the Farrage's going to go. And then the Nerval, it doesn't really matter where it's going to go, because you're going to go ahead and use it and your Recital Starling in order to link summon. Keep in mind, with my combo, you actually utilize a bit more resources, but it has a little bit of a higher payoff depending on your matchup. Again, this is really matchup dependent. Usually you want to go for the Omni-Negate, but this has quote-unquote more disruptions, especially if you open Fractal instead of Cobalt, or if you open all 3. You're going to go ahead and hard make your Farraget, and now you're going to trigger your Nerval. Nerval is going to go ahead and add your 1 copy of Kit. I'm going to go ahead and special the Kit right over here, and then I'm going to use the Kit, banishing everything in my grave, to summon our first copy of Shurg. I'm going to use Shurg and Kit to hard make the Bearbrum instead of the Nerval this time. I'm going to go Chainlink 1 Shurg for the search, Chainlink 2 Kit for the dump. You don't need the Kit, but it's really nice and resource efficient. I'm going to go ahead and dump Karis, and then I'm going to use Shurg to add a Nerval. So we're going to go through 2 Nervals in this one combo. And we haven't normal summoned yet, so I'm going to normal summon Nerval. I'm going to activate Nerval's effect, banishing Karis and Kit, and I'm going to summon, of course, who else but Double Dragon Lords. And I'm going to go ahead and use Nerval and Sapphire over here. I'm going to go into our copy of Ensemble Robin. If we open Fractal Warbler, we would be able to banish the Fractal instead of one of our things in Grave, so we'd have a Cobalt under this as well because of Sapphire. And if we open all 3, we can use the Turquoise and the Cobalt, and then the Fractal chills, dumping a Celestine as well, meaning you use even less resources, so you'll also have a Celestine, meaning you'll have 4 copies on your Ensemble. And then, much like the last combo, we're going to go ahead and use Bearbrum and Farraget to go into an Appaloosa, and then, of course, we're going to go ahead and search our copy of Revolt. Now, it's really funny how similar the combos ended up being, especially, you know, the DDL, Bearbrum, Farraget into Appaloosa, and then with the Revolt. Because I never even saw the Arc-Light combo before I made mine. I just heard that, oh yeah, your end board can be Arc-Light whatever now from my head judge at Locals. And so I made this, and then I saw the online, and I was like, oh, that's kind of hilarious. Yeah, this is my combo. It's a bit better for combo decks, especially if you do open the extenders. Because, you know, Ensemble being multiple bounces is really, really nice. You can also put it in defense, by the way, because you have Double Dragon Lords in order to protect it. And so if you don't want to, like, explode under Lightning Storm, that's a really great option. And once again, the Revolt grabs you the exact same follow-up. You get a Fractal and a Barrel Canary, which is basically 1-card Zeus and 1-card access code. And that's really all there is for my combo. But anyways, guys, that's going to have to do it for my Bird Up deck profile and combo tutorial for February 2022. Let me know what you think of the deck in the comments below. Not just the deck profile, but that would also help. But let me know what you think of the deck overall in the comments below. How do you think it's going to be both with these combos and in general after the Forbidden Unlimited list? They got hit really, really hard, but I think the deck can still thrive. A little bit more Tri-focused than it was before, but you know, that's really not a problem, and I think it's better than Pure Tri and Lunalight Tri, but I guess that is a bit subjective. But anyways, guys, that's gonna have to do it for the video. If you liked it, please sure to leave a like on it as it helps put this video and the channel into YouTube recommended. And if you liked it and you want to see more content like this, like more deck profiles, probably gonna do more Bird Up follow-up at some point. And if you want to support me more than anything else on my journey to 1,000 subscribers by May, then perhaps consider subscribing for more awesome Yu-Gi-Oh! Content like this. But until then, once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Aurora, signing off.